Everyone told you to make more friends, be more social, show up more. But what if the people who warned you about being too selective were the ones who never understood how exhausting the wrong connections actually feel? Modern life pushes constant connection. Social media, networking, group chats, the pressure to maintain hundreds of relationships at once. But psychology tells a different story, one where quality of connection matters far more than quantity, and where being selective is actually a sign of self-awareness.
Reason 1. Energy is a finite resource. Here's something most people never say out loud. Social interaction costs energy. Real, measurable, neurological energy. Every conversation you have, every relationship you maintain, draws from the same internal reserve you use for thinking, creating, and recovering. Psychologists call this cognitive load. And when you spread yourself across dozens of shallow connections, that load becomes unsustainable. People who are selective with their social circle aren't being cold or antisocial. They're being intelligent about how they spend one of their most limited resources. Protecting your energy isn't selfishness. It's the foundation of being genuinely present for the people who actually matter in your life.
Reason 2. Shallow connections increase loneliness. This one surprises people every time. You can have a full social calendar, parties, group chats, lunch plans, and still feel profoundly alone. Research from the University of Michigan found that the number of social contacts has almost no relationship with feelings of loneliness. What matters is depth, perceived closeness, the sense that someone actually knows you. Shallow connections create the illusion of belonging without the substance. And that gap between surface-level contact and real intimacy is where loneliness quietly lives. Selective people skip the illusion. They hold out for the kind of connection that actually fills something.
Reason 3. Your circle shapes your identity. Jim Rohn's famous line, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," has actual psychological backing. Social comparison theory, developed by Leon Festinger, shows that we constantly calibrate our beliefs, ambitions, and self-worth against the people around us. When your circle is wide and random, that calibration becomes chaotic. You absorb values you didn't choose, habits you didn't want, anxieties that were never yours to carry. Selective fellowship means you get to be intentional about that influence. You decide which voices shape your inner world, and that choice quietly determines who you become.
Reason 4. Trust requires rarity. Think about the last time you told someone something truly vulnerable, something real. How carefully you chose that person. Trust isn't something you can manufacture at scale. It's built slowly through repeated small moments of reliability, honesty, and care. Psychologist John Gottman's research on relationships shows that trust is less about grand gestures and more about consistent, small acts of attentiveness over time. That kind of depth requires investment from both sides, and investment requires time and attention that simply cannot be spread infinitely thin. Selective people understand this intuitively. They'd rather have 2 or 3 people they can be fully honest with than 20 they have to perform for.
Reason 5. Psychological safety unlocks growth. There's a concept in organizational psychology called psychological safety, the feeling that you can speak, fail, experiment, and be honest without fear of judgment or rejection. Google's famous Project Aristotle found it to be the single most important factor in high-performing teams. But it applies to personal relationships too. When you feel psychologically safe with someone, you take more risks, You share more. You challenge your own thinking rather than defending a performance. That kind of safety is rare, and it can only exist in relationships where trust has been genuinely built. Selective people create the conditions for psychological safety and then grow faster because of it.
Reason 6. Conflict is cleaner in smaller circles. More relationships mean more conflict. That's simple math. But it's not just the quantity of conflict that becomes a problem, it's the complexity. In large, loosely connected social networks, misunderstandings travel fast, loyalties split in unpredictable ways, and resolving tension becomes a political exercise rather than a human one. Research in social network theory shows that smaller, denser networks, where people know each other well, resolve conflict more effectively and recover from ruptures faster. Selective people experience conflict differently. It's direct, it's manageable, and because the relationship actually matters to both people, there's real motivation to repair it and come back stronger.
Reason 7. Solitude becomes an asset, not a symptom. One of the quieter benefits of selective fellowship is this. When your social life is intentional rather than compulsive, solitude stops feeling like something is wrong with you. Psychologist Esther Buchholz argued that the need for solitude is as fundamental as the need for connection. The time alone is where integration, creativity, and self-understanding actually happen. People who fill every moment with social noise never find out what they actually think, what they actually want. Selective people move between connection and solitude with ease because neither one is desperate or avoidant, just part of a natural rhythm. And that rhythm, over time, builds an extraordinary inner life.
Psychology didn't invent this idea, it just gave it language. Across cultures and centuries, the wisest voices have pointed toward the same truth, that meaningful life is built in depth, not breadth. Aristotle distinguished between friendships of utility, pleasure, and virtue, and argued only the third kind truly nourishes the soul. Indigenous traditions around the world center community on deep relational bonds rather than broad social performance. Modern neuroscience now shows that meaningful social connection activates reward pathways, reduces cortisol, and supports immune function in ways that casual contact simply doesn't replicate. Being selective isn't a modern quirk, it's an ancient and well-documented form of human intelligence.
There's a particular kind of grief that selective people carry quietly. The awareness that not everyone will understand why you didn't show up to every event, why you let certain friendships fade, why you sometimes choose an evening alone over another surface-level gathering. People will call it coldness, distance, arrogance even. And that misreading hurts, because the truth is almost exactly the opposite. Selective people feel deeply. They simply refuse to dilute that depth across connections that can't hold it. The longing for real belonging is just as strong. The standard is just higher. And holding that standard, quietly and consistently, takes more courage than most people realize.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Start by auditing your current connections, not to judge anyone, but to get honest with yourself. Which relationships leave you feeling seen, restored, and more like yourself? Which ones leave you feeling drained, performing, or invisible? You don't need to dramatically cut anyone off. Selective fellowship is less about subtraction and more about intentional investment. Put more time, attention, and presence into the relationships that genuinely nourish you. Let the others exist at whatever natural distance they find. You're not abandoning people. You're finally being honest about where your real capacity for connection lives.
Here's the nuance that matters. Selective fellowship isn't a license for isolation, avoidance, or closing yourself off from new people. It's not about building walls, It's about building doors with better locks. Some of the most selectively connected people are also among the most open, curious, and genuinely warm human beings you'll ever meet. The difference is, they bring intention to connection rather than compulsion. They're not running from people, they're running toward the right ones. And they stay open to the unexpected friendship, the surprising conversation, the stranger who somehow immediately feels like home. Selectivity and openness, held together, are not opposites. They're partners.